Olá, né? É um prazer e um privilégio poder contar com o apoio do professor John Davis na introdução ao caderno sobre sucessão, preparado pela Comissão de Empresas Familiares do IBGC. Muito deste conhecimento que o John vai compartilhar conosco vem de anos de trabalho do professor John Davis com nossos colegas na Cambridge Family Enterprise Group, empresa que o próprio John fundou há mais de 30 anos e que presta serviços a famílias empresárias no mundo todo. Com isto, então, vamos à fala do professor John Davis. Welcome, John.
The launch of the succession booklet, prepared by the Commission for Family-Controlled Businesses, could not be occurring at a more appropriate time. We observed in this pandemic, but even leading up to this pandemic, how important the succession topic is today. The business world has changed dramatically since the advent of the 21st century. Accelerating changes in technology, increased globalization, we'll see where that goes in the next few years, changes in consumer preferences, all are very apparent today. And also in society, families themselves and enterprising families are becoming much more diverse and geographically spread out. Finally, we see that disruptions are occurring much more frequently, creating what is now called a VUCA world, one that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The environment needs to be understood. First of all, the future is foggier. Family business leaders now need to ponder, will we still be in the same business when our next succession transition needs to happen? Family companies that are sound today operating in particular businesses may not be able to be successful in those same industries in 5 or 10 years. For successors, this fogginess or uncertainty about the future means that the standard route to a leadership position in the family company, working one's way up through the ranks, it risks becoming a dead end for the successor. The rising generation of millennials are also far more invested in entrepreneurship and noticeably less invested in the traditional businesses of their families. How does a family company attract a family successor in these conditions? Next, generational expectations around succession transitions have become increasingly misaligned. The assumptions about senior and junior generation members for when a leadership transition should occur are now increasingly at odds. Current leaders are enjoying longer lifespans and longer career spans. As a result, in most cases, they are postponing retirement. They still feel fit. They still enjoy being in the game. At the same time, the younger generations, generations X and Y, want to assume positions of leadership at younger ages than we've ever seen before. What used to be a normal generational transition period for the younger generation, sometime in their 40s, is now happening or desired to happen by the younger generation in their mid-30s or even early 30s. So how do you manage to keep the younger generation motivated with their expectations when the senior generation desires to stay in the game far longer? Anyone paying attention to the business environment, to how society is changing, to how economies are changing, and to the changes in generations. Anyone paying attention to those factors isn't surprised by what I'm saying. But we need to fully understand that succession in this environment is going to look different than it has in the past. Even though it's different, we can get ready, we can prepare. Here are a few of my suggestions for how to get ready. First of all, develop a different type of successor. Given the growing uncertainty in many industrial sectors and for many of the businesses that I serve as an advisor, family business leaders need to evaluate and develop their successors' readiness for the future, less on operational qualifications, especially for the business that they're in now, and more on the ability to make important strategic decisions, such as, should we invest here or there? How do we grow and compete in a new environment? How do we attract the best talent? These kinds of more strategic decisions will become increasingly relevant and important for family companies in the future. Leaders must also think much more like owners as opposed to operators. They need to periodically rise above their operating concerns and consider where to make the best bets of capital, people, and time. If you're not looking for a successor who's capable to think this way and make these kinds of important choices, you're not looking for the right profile for your successor. Also, recognize that entrepreneurship isn't everything. And I'm speaking now mostly to the next generation who couch many of their career choices and decisions around, how do I become an entrepreneur? Look, entrepreneurship is a valuable activity and can help prepare the next generation, teaching the next generation the value of a market perspective, how to innovate, how to scale, how to finance growth, and how to build good management and employee teams. Very useful for those things, but for the next generation in the family business, becoming an entrepreneur alone doesn't necessarily prepare you to lead and own a family business. Knowing how to build on the success of others, how to grow an existing organization is as important as knowing how to start something new. Finally, be realistic about the timing of succession. The transition needs to happen at a time to ensure that the momentum in the company is strong. This is the primary driver of useful succession transitions. You need to initiate a change in leadership when the next generation is ready to lead. Now, that's more than just wanting to lead. We have to be realistic about, is the next generation capable of leadership, including making very important key decisions? Now, making sure that the next generation is ready to lead is much more important than when the current leader is ready to leave or depart. When the current leader is ready to leave or depart has historically driven succession transitions, sometimes much to the frustration of next generation members. But today it's got to shift. Current CEOs have to be prepared to step down and transition leadership at the right time, even if they're at the peak of their abilities. Why? Because the momentum of the company requires it. If you wait too long and the next generation of family, and even the next generation of non-family, don't get their turn at driving the company and making big decisions, especially today, they become less engaged. And we can't afford to let that happen. But I recognize that stepping down when you still are very capable at the game of business, it's an individual sacrifice, but it's one that is critical to the momentum of the organization you've been building. If you're not psychologically prepared to step aside before you start to decline, and if you're not prepared to step aside when the next generation, a prepared, well-motivated next generation is ready, then you're really not awake to the realities of succession in today's world. The planning and management of succession today are vital topics for the modern family business. I want to commend the Instituto Brasileiro de Governança Corporativa, and in particular, the Commission for Family-Controlled Businesses, not only for their leadership of this very valuable book, but also for their broader mission, helping family companies improve and professionalize their governance. We live in turbulent times. It's a VUCA world, and this is the new normal. Over the last 31 years, as my colleagues and I within the Cambridge Family Enterprise Group have assisted family enterprises with their succession transitions, I've learned that a realistic perspective, real planning, and real management of the reality that you're facing are essential. And these are more important now than ever. Thank you. Good luck. Enjoy the rest of the event.